Welcome to another episode of The Second Coming. I'm your host, Jason Keaton, and I have Brother T with us here today. Brother T, how's it going?
I'm in the flow, man, just since last week, man. That conversation last week was a good one, and I've been in the flow ever since.
Yeah. Happy 2025. And in 2025, I really want The Second Coming to explore some of these misconceptions that we've been indoctrinated with. And one that really kind of set me off, I know I'm coming like from a little bit of ego irritation, but I got to show you this. So, and their teaching called me out, so I'm just like holding the mirror up to them. But my mom goes to the Missouri Synod Lutheran Church, and she sent me a stack of reasons why God is not the God that I think he is, or she is, or it is. And one of the first things in the first paragraph is LGBTQ with a big slash across it, and how this is destroying society. And my goodness, it's hard to find my gay friends upset about stuff, and they seem to be so in love with life and so in the flow. And when I feel like people from power in churches are oppressing their hateful belief system on their community and their world, it's upsetting to me. And I probably need to take a deep breath here, Brother T, but if you wouldn't mind kind of ruffling some feathers and pushing back on these bullies.
Wow. Okay. I need to light a candle for this one. Okay. Let's take a good deep breath. Let's call in a little bit of guidance here. Oh, thank you, Mother, Father, God, for giving us this opportunity to share truth with those that have eyes to see and ears to hear, because love is all there is. There can be a lack of it in the minds of God's children when they don't quite understand who they are and what they are, and that they have an opportunity to be in service to love here on this planet, Gaia, our beautiful Mother Earth. So we will take on whatever is necessary to be discussed. And we are so grateful for the guidance and the support of the masters and the guides and the family and the angels that are gathered here with us today, because many more than two are gathered now in this conversation, because this conversation is a conversation about love. And so it is.
So it is. Already more calm, Brother T. I was just got worked up a little bit there.
That's all right. There are a lot of people that get worked up about that topic, right?
On both sides,
and
it
some
seems
of them
like.
are very, very near and dear to us, right? I have seen families literally divided over politics, right? And politics is clearly a choice. You're not incarnated with a particular bend toward a particular political persuasion, right? In fact, none of us are incarnated with any particular religious persuasion. If you're born in another part of the world, Allah could be your God, and you would not see any reason or any possibility that any other spiritual religion or religion of any kind could be true, because that's what you had been conditioned to believe from the very onset of your entry into the world and the family that you chose to incarnate with. So we'll start there. But this whole idea about being gay, okay, or being a lesbian. Now this all has to do obviously with sexual choices, or does it? Well, we only scientifically and by the decree of God are incarnated as one species. There's not multiple species of humans. There's only one species. Here we are. And our genetic code is so unlimited that the color of our vehicle, it can be all of the colors of the earth. And there are those who are incarnated are albino, which is rare, but happens. And there are many who are very, very dark-skinned, right? And there are those who are the color of sand, you know, white sand, brown sand, and black sand. Even sand, it really kind of is the almost covers the full gamut of the color of our vehicle here when we incarnate. So one thing is also true, and that is that our DNA construct, that we are, are male or female. And the reason for that and being created that way is because God is allowing us to use this method of incarnating in form to be able to manifest more of God. And we've talked about that a lot last year, right? About the soul. It's all about letting go of your own stinking thinking, your egoic construct, and allow your soul to take over in the driver's seat, right? So we've kind of covered all that. But wait a minute. What about this issue about, is it okay for one man to have sex with another man, and what does God think about that? Well, it really, or a woman to have sex with another woman. What does God think about that? So, I want to circle back to answer that question, but I do want to share a short story. And I might have shared it last year, but I'll share it again. I met this, my wife and I went to a movie and to watch a show, and there was nobody in the theater, right? Except very few people. And then there was this one guy, and he literally intentionally came over, and my wife's on my right, and he came over and sat down right next to me. And she kind of thought maybe he was hitting on me, right? I'll take that as a compliment. And so anyway, the movies, before they start playing, there's about 20 minutes of reruns and advertisements and previews. But anyway, we got to talking, and we got to talking about spirituality. For some reason, we got to talking about God. Now, I don't know if it was his intention or my intention, but there's no mistakes. So here we are having this discussion. And then after the movie was over, we went out just outside of the theater in the hallway, and there was a bunch of movies, and it was a big movie theater. And so it's different, rooms where movies were playing. But so we were standing out in the hallway close to the exit door, and we got into it. I mean, we were talking, and I'm telling him about what I have come to discover, right, as the truth of what Jesus was teaching his disciples, what I have come to know and have had experiencing. And he was determined, that I was lost, and because he was a minister, and he had his own church, and they were church in a box, and they were going to be at such and such a high school over here on Sunday near where I was living, and I should come to his church. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. I appreciate it, but no, I think I'm good, right? And one of the reasons that I turned away from the church was because of their damnation of God's children who might choose to be loving toward and have sex with, if they want, someone of the same gender. And I just can't, that's like, no way. I mean, because, I have a grandson that's, he came out of and announced himself as being gay when he was like a junior in high school, which was a big deal, right? Because this was like 8 years ago or so, and this was like in Tennessee, in the middle of it's in the Bible Belt, not just it's the Bible Belt of Christianity. Anyway, I would never judge my grandson for his sexual preference. Ever, never, never. I love him, and I would never damn him or condemn him or try to make him believe that he was sick because he had a preference of who he loves. Because love is love. And love wants what love wants, and love connects with what is love is connected to. As we've talked about many times, we are attracted into our lives people, places, and things and experiences that are resonating with our vibration, our consciousness. So this was really bugging me, and I kept getting this nudge from spirits like, well, you need to go to that church. And I'm like, I don't want to go to that church. I mean, I don't, why would I want to go to that church? But it just kept bugging me, and 3 or 4 weeks went by or more. And one Sunday morning I woke up and I got up and I told my wife, I said, you know what? I'm going to go to this church. I'm just keep getting the nudge to go to this church, and I don't know why, but I'm going to go. So I go to the church, and it's in this, it's a basketball court with a little stage on one side. And so they got the music over there, everybody's got the chairs over there, but I'm on the other side, and they had the bleachers that were, they push them back, but there was, the bottom row was there, and I could sit there. So I'm sitting across the court from the, in the gymnasium from the, the event that's going on over there. And I'm watching it. And then this guy, and he came up to me. He was greeting people when I came in. And so he came up to me and said, oh, great to see you, man. I'm so glad you're here. Da, 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 da. If you need anything. And I said, no, I'm just going to sit over here, blah. And there was some condemnation of people who were gay. There was condemnation of, that's a law. God judge those people are going to go to hell forever. They're lost. They're sick. They don't even know they're sick. Blah blah blah. All this stuff. And I'm like, why am I listening to this? I mean, I'm like, I can't. I can't abide by this. It really was. It was causing me some resistance, right? But then the service is over, and the music, they played a little music, whatever, and it was loud and whatever. But then it was over. And suddenly all the people got up in their little fold 'em and stack 'em chairs, and they started hugging each other. They started showing love for each other. And suddenly I got it. And tears just started flowing. And I was just sitting over there bawling, crying. Because I got the message. Even when we're just beginning, love is still there. Even if we don't understand the truth of what's going on, love is still there. And there are elements within those groups that have denied themselves. It's they've been controlled to some extent by establishment, religiosity, if you will, that there's only a certain way, and that God is a certain God, and there's rules, and there's this, and blah, 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 and you're going to go to hell, and God is punishing, wrathful, vengeful, jealous. I could do a sermon on it. No, God is not any of those things. God is love. And I got the message, Jason. The message is they're on the pathway toward self-realization, because you have to, the only way to achieve self-realization, to make your true capital S self real for you, is a pathway that is ever increasing in its commitment to love. Period. 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 So my preacher friend came over and he's like, man, can we do something for you? We got some, whatever they call practitioners or whatever they are. Oh, they'll help you, And I said, no, brother. He said, we're here to help you. I said, oh, brother. I said, I'm here to help you. I'm just here to love you. That's all. And I left. But I got the message. We have no place in our ministry to condemn anybody else for any belief system they have, period, period, period. As long as the underpinning of their journey is that one of those stepping stones that is leading them more and more and continuously toward allowance and acceptance, forgiveness, and love. We have no ability, none whatsoever. And we certainly do have a choice to say, get thee behind me. I'm not going to listen to this judgmental mind that's condemning anybody for anything. Because these are God's children and they don't know themselves. They don't know who they are. And I've spent countless lifetimes not knowing who I am. So who am I to be so arrogant as to think that I am better than, smarter than, and more advanced than they are spiritually, if I even consider the idea of judging them for anything? Now, I'm being pretty firm here in this. We are not designed to be judgmental, right? We are not designed to be judgmental. I have somebody knocking on my door, so I'm going to take a break right here. I'm going to pause. I'll be right back. Okay, we had a little interruption there because one of my neighbors came by and gave me a big can of cookies.
Nice.
Which is probably the last thing I need, but I'll take it.
You're just spreading the love the best way
Absolutely.
they know how. I love
that. So we have said that we understand now that love is love and God is love, right? So I know we've been going on for a little while, but I have another part of this I want to share. I want to circle back now to where I left earlier because I want to share a message that most people, I would say 99.9% probably won't accept this, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. Okay, so if people are born male or female, and if God's design is for us to sustain ourselves in humanity and to have more of us, more children, so that we can manifest more of God, where does all of this gayness come into place anyway? Where's that coming from? Is it a sickness? Well, no. Short answer, absolutely not. There's no sickness to it whatsoever. Not at all. What's going on is some religions believe that you got one shot to be somebody that God expects you to be without telling you what you're supposed to be. And then if you don't do it right, at the end of the game, you get one shot and then one life. And then if you didn't achieve what was required of you, even though you don't know what it really is, then you're going to go to be eternal damnation. That sounds like a human idea to me, not a God idea. Okay, but we'll leave that aside for the moment. But the other thing and the reason that this was brought into play back in, I think, around 400 AD, this is when the big book burning happened and all these the Essenes, the teachings of the Essenes, and many religions were destroyed by the Roman king at the time. I think it was a Roman king. Anyway, all that to say, in order to maintain control of people, they decided that to maintain power, that people needed, the best way to control people is for them to be afraid of you. Either starve them to death or make them extremely fearful, and then you can maintain control. I mean, that's because the human egoic mind is very fearful. And its whole construct is fear. And it's also needs to sustain the body because it believes it's a body. So yeah, that makes sense. And so what was taken out of the teachings of Jesus is this term that some won't accept, but that's okay. And it's called reincarnation. Now we know we're incarnated one time. Here I am. You're here listening to my voice. You're incarnated. You have become spirit and form, at least consciousness and form, if you will, at this point. Spirit's waiting to express in form. We'll talk about that. We have talked about it. But the point I want to make is that wasn't accepted because it was hard to control people. Well, if they screw up this life, I got another life. Well, that kind of breaks down the reasoning that they have to keep you in control and keep you in that container is because you only get one shot, so you better do it the way we tell you to do it. Period, period, period. So I can see why they chose that method to control people, but it's unfortunate because the truth is we do reincarnate. In fact, we incarnate about 50% of the time as male and 50% of the time as female. And we tend to do that about 6 or 8 lifetimes as one gender, and then we transition to another gender in the next series of 6 or 8 lifetimes. Now, the goal objectively is to wake up from the illusion of separation and to become united, wholehearted. We've talked about all these things with your soul, and then your soul then is like Jesus says, hey, when you see me, you see the Father, because I am the soul, and the soul is one with God, an extension of God. Yes, you might have your own individuation, but you are an extension of God, and you are one with God, one with all of that, right? But here's the deal, okay? When you have been a man for 6 or 8 lifetimes, that's, I'll say, a nice little period of time. Let's just say 500 years, right? For talking purposes. 400 or 500 years, you've been a man. Well, now when you come back and you're incarnating now as a female, do you think there's a little residue left over there, a little residual impact? And you're like, wow, I'm a woman, yeah, but I really like women. I mean, sexually, I find them very attractive. It can take 2 lifetimes, and maybe even a little more, for the mind to transition from being male to female and vice versa. So you can condemn people who are gay all you want to, or lesbians all you want to, bisexual, whatever, because they're in transition from being incarnated from one gender to the next gender, and give them a little break because it takes a couple of lifetimes to get through it. And so who cares if a man loves a man? In fact, at least they're loving. At least that little group in that church in a box, they were being loving. Yeah, they didn't have clarity about the truth of themselves and of God and their relationship, or even of who Jesus was or is. But you know what? They were being loving. They were on the pathway. So let's give our friends in the bisexual, lesbian, gay community a break and say, you know what? God bless you. I can see how that could be very confusing and difficult to live with, and we've all done it. There's none who haven't, unless this is their first incarnation and they're young souls and they got a lot to learn, right? So I know this is going to fly in the face of, oh, people are going to be upset. Oh, Brother T, why would you say such a thing? Because it's reasonable, because it's true. And how would I know that? There's an entity called Cryon, the magnetic master, who has never incarnated as in form, but he was channeling through Lee Carroll back in the 80s, and I think he's still channeling to some degree. He's getting old now. But the point is, Cryon shared this information decades ago, and lots of other great information that most people won't find out in this lifetime, but maybe the next.
That's beautiful and so inclusive to our global community on Earth. Really, I mean, it's just love, right? Holding the love vibration for all forms. It's beautiful. I put my reading glasses on this time because it jumped out at me, this same packet of information that I was given from my mother's church. It's written on there, Judgment Day, pointing to Jesus' second coming. I couldn't imagine a better transition into, second coming is right now. No one to crucify.
We're the second coming. Yeah, the people in your mother's church are a part of the second coming. When they wake up to their own divinity, they won't be judging anybody else because God's not judging us. Judgment is a man-made construct, and we've painted God, made God up in our own image. We've anthropomorphized God in our image, right? And God's not judging us for anything. God's like, wake up, because your soul is not confused about who it is and what it is. And sex is an instrument to help sustain humanity so that we can grow into what Jesus grew into, which was spirit, God, soul, Holy Spirit, love, and form, and then expressing as the body in form. Jesus was showing us the process. He wasn't being the only one in the process. He was showing us our journey, our future. And he's done what he came to do. And so the second coming is on us to wake up to our divinity, to believe the truth ultimately enough to have the experience of knowing the truth. And it takes a little while, my friends, but the second coming is now, and there's no one left to crucify. Lesbians or gays or otherwise, there is no one left to crucify. And there's no reason to crucify anybody who has a false belief. Because if they are involved in ministry at any level, they've learned a little bit about love, and their journey continues.
Right. I agree. I show my mom grace, and am happy that she finds love and her community there. It's just not for me, but I'm not the one sending reams of paper of why my knowing of God's love is wrong because it's not the same as hers. So it's just something that gets me fired up sometimes. And like I said, so many people I know that aren't conformists that show incredible amounts of unconditional love. It's truly
Right.
beautiful.
Exactly.
And so I'll just close with being in love with the world and holding a love vibration for all. And Brother T, I love you. And so thank you so much for sharing and enlightening us with love today.
Well, the light in this pathway is a term that's a very, very important element as principle of our journey, and it's called forgiveness. And forgiveness, it was given to me as I was studying the Course in Miracles to mean moving back before you gave judgment. So before you judge anybody, before you might know that they're gay, you might actually see their innocence, and you start to form judgment after somebody says something or you discover something that the ego has a thought system about and uses it as a template for judgment. But moving back, forgiveness, moving back before you gave judgment is seeing the perfect innocence in all of God's children, regardless how they are acting out in form. So today, we'll close with the remembrance of the blessings of forgiveness and share that message with anyone who can use that peace-giving truth. And so it is.
And so it is. Brother T, thank you for your guidance this week. I don't have anything else. That was a very nice message this week, message of love. So,
well, you almost opened up Pandora's box there, Jason, so you know. It was a lot of fun. So we love you out there. Happy New Year. It's still January.
And that being said, we have more exciting topics that will ruffle some feathers next week on the second coming.
And so it is.